really hoping you can see how pretty that is this morning. It's more red than what it's showing. And yes, those clouds are cruising across at the lower level. They look faster in life than they do on the video, but yeah, they are cruising. Hey, beautiful Sunday morning. Rained a little last night, not too much. Say it's nice that way. And you look over here. Yeah, there is no hill up there, half of it. Oh well. Yeah, I'm gonna make my rounds and bring you back for a little bit. Okay. Dog in the middle of the screen. Say good morning, Blue. Sometimes he's kind of shy. Red, he just ain't always smart enough to know whether to be shy or not. Rainy, of course, she's sniffing for something. Wind blew last night. Blew the cover off this one. In the process of pressure washing all that, they made a little bit more of a mess over here. This doesn't take very long. Run a rake over to get the big chunks, and I am going to have to remind them they need to move that big board over a little more. It got knocked over anyway. Move it over and clean out underneath it. But there, eat off that floor if you want to. Hey, calves can eat out of here if they want to too. Oh, they did miss a little. This end section kind of still has some cobwebs and such. They must have forgot that there is a barn from that pole to the north. Because this looks much better than it did. The catwalk still has some stuff hanging on it, but still looks better. And the edge of the deck, there's still stuff hanging there. That stuff gets blown loose. Usually the water troughs get really full of crap when you pressure wash in here because all this stuff ends up in them. And I don't remember the last time we cleaned these two. Stuff gets to the bottom of them. It happened. Walked into a spider web. That's what I needed right across my eyeball. Anyway, show you that this does actually clean up pretty good. Other than they pretty much forgot underneath the deck. Part we walk through all the time. Gates are pretty clean. Floor's nice and clean. Where the hard pack was, pretty much the whole area of my phone right there was that hard pack I didn't get with the skid steer. And then there's always a little over there that I can't quite get because of the way everything lays. That's all cleaned out nice. Randy thinks there's a mouse over here. And that is one of the spots that they like to go. There's a gap behind that pole. And I don't know if they just get in between the plywood and the siding or what. But it's clean. And there's that Subaru Costco special. It works. So Matt, this one usually starts. So far, I don't know how many. Mom's got a lot of hours on that thing. It's probably due for an oil change 2 years ago, knowing her. They still got mess out here, but most of the mess out that way is scrape the floor off again. Little handwork around the poles and pressure wash the feeder and pressure wash the walls. Pressure wash the gates. So it ain't too bad. Boom, that pile, there's actually damn near a bucket full right there for the skid steer. And between there and where I'm standing is probably another bucket full. Maybe a bucket and a half full. That would be everything they got out of here. And they did shove they got the board out that goes across here. Told her to do that first thing so they didn't have to mess with it. And it's sitting there. Looks like it's pretty well cleaned off. Got the concrete out here scraped off, so there's some there I gotta clean up. And yeah, probably should tell them they need to clean up this one gate out here. It's pretty splattered. Still need to clean up back here. There's going to be a few loads, especially when we get down by the feeder. Because it's humped up against the panels there, halfway up the panels. So, and those are what, 5-foot panels? That's over halfway up. That's 3 feet anyway up them. Those are taller. It must be taller than they're 6 foot. Duh. And they're still enjoying. The grass still looks pretty good from here too. Okay, that's enough for now. I'm gonna go see if I can get some roll pins out of a shaft so I can start sliding it back together and maybe have a spreader back in operating condition today if I'm lucky. I still got to figure out what to do with the other end where it bent stuff. And get the idler shaft out and drill the, well, unless I'm lucky enough and they come out, drill the tensioner rods out of it because they're threaded into it. And broke off. One's broke off, the other's bent right next to it, so it's going to have to get cut off. Then make new tensioner rods. So, anyway, like I said, I'll get you some of that later. 3 out of 4 are out. Looky there. You see all the way to the ground. Same with that one. After successfully effing up a couple of punches, and you can tell by the colors there. We got the gaseous wrenchius out, and I was hoping not to have to actually cut them out. The nice thing is, roll pins are hard, kind of like a bearing race. Well, Rick Bork, he's talked about welding up the inside of a outer race so you can shrink it to get it out. Yep, done lots of stuff like that before. The other nice thing about a bearing race being hard, when you're cutting, they will actually melt before you melt the shaft. I've cut a lot of them off shafts without putting a mark on the shaft and blowing the race clear off. But I really don't want to try to blow through that if I don't have to. So I'm going to cherry it again. Hopefully it'll break it loose. Spin you around a little. Make Travis dizzy. Yes, I'm using the vice grips. And the glove has to keep the brace from getting too dirty. About time to go grind the end of it again by the looks of it. Getting swedged out a little bit, and this is a 5/16 punch, so it won't go, well, it'll go in the hole, but you got to punch it back out. This one's a little bit smaller, so once I'm getting as far as I can get the punch back out, I'm driving them through with this one. And find the right spot. Focus, you fudge. Get something to focus against. She's not in the bestest of shape because they don't want to move. So, yeah, I've only been at this for 2 hours this morning. And that's all I've got to show for it is 3 of them out, 3 laying on the floor. This one's being the more stubborn one. Then I got to clean it up, and I don't know how much cleaning I'm really going to do. Just make sure that there's no bad spots where the sprockets go. And you can see it's a little diameter deficient there in the center where it goes through that center bearing, but I'm not really worried about that. I mean, it turns so fast that, you know, I don't even know what year the spreader is. But I'm willing to bet that it's well over half my age anyway. I would guess it's probably from the 80s, maybe early 90s, maybe. And say it was on a dairy before we got it, so, you know, they usually run them a lot more than we do. Most dairies just run one and run it all the time. We run two and run for, combined maybe 2 weeks out of the year. Maybe a little more than that. But when we do run them, we're usually running 10 or 12 hours a day, hammering on it to get it done. And if you can hear all the noise in the background, that's number one. She's moving some of that junk in the barn that I was showing you this morning. That's what she's supposed to be doing. I'm guessing she went in that far end over there. That way she doesn't go on top of what they cleaned. Anyway, that's more than enough for now. Hopefully I'll bring you back with better news, but I mean, I guess this is pretty good news. 3 out of 4, right? Who needs to worry about that fourth one? It kind of needs to be there, damn it. Okay, it has been a full hour on this one by itself. The last little bit of video was actually a full hour ago. I just got that other punch back out. I had to drive the thing back in quite a ways before I get the punch back out, and it didn't want to drive very well. And I just drove it almost all the way through there. Just use the hammer handle for a second. Yeah, camera in the right hand, hammer in the left. That's all right, I'll live through it. The hard beating's done. 2 more times of grinding the bigger punch up, and the end of the little punch, it's been ground 1 more time and it don't look real good. Not to mention heating this sucker 2 more times since the last portion of the video. So here we go. Should be nice and easy. Well, not quite that easy, but it's out. Now I can, clean it up. I'll get the grease off. I don't want to handle all that crap. And there's a little more scale around both sides right here. I got to knock off because spacers go in there. And we'll slide her back together. So hopefully the next thing you see is it together, I hope. We'll see. Well, funny thing, about an hour for everything. Yeah. Been damn near an hour cleaning this shaft up. But look at how pretty it is. Yeah, a little small right there. Tough. It's earned the right to be a little small there and still go. But looky here. It'll slide on now. I really kind of expected the main part of the shaft to have been eaten up just enough that I wouldn't have to clean it up, but I was wrong on that. It's actually still very close to size. It just looks ugly. And really the worst spots were like right here where there was a spacer. That it took a little digging and there was a spacer here, but it wasn't too bad. Flap disc. Doesn't that look pretty? Thing I love about a flap disc is if you want to grind a weld down flush and it's sticking up a 1/2 inch, you just lean on it a little bit. If you just want to polish it, just polish it. I mean, I guarantee I can get the calipers out and check these things every which way I want to check them. I'll bet you they're within 100 thousandths or less of what they're supposed to be. Where they count. Well, the only thing that counts is really where the sprockets go. So, you know, the spots that shined up good. And it explains why I had such a hard time even when I cut those, getting them split and popped off. Because there was so much scale in there. Some of it had a lot of scale. And I got the keyways scraped out good and cleaned up, and I decided it'd be a good idea to run a drill bit through those. So found a 5/16 bit. Not too hard to find. I just got to look in the index. So I knew that's what it was for sure. And you can kind of see there might still be a little rust left in that hole, but that hole's the size it needs to be now. That's what I care about, because you want the roll pins to fit tight. And this is how the day has been all day, pretty much. I didn't show you much of that earlier. I mean, this morning it was nicer, but the wind's been blowing and trees over there are dancing pretty good. I had a heck of a time with the rust I was blasting off of this thing because the wind kept it in here. I had to turn the fan on and try to blow some out. And of course everything on the bench is full of that crap now, but price you pay, right? I still got a nice thing about a mag tray, I won't let go of it. I still got to make a new spacer and a new spacer. Those were round, but the only way I got those off was to take the chisel and cut them in the key groove and then peel them off. So I don't know, realistically I could probably make those round again, weld them back together and use them, but I probably won't. I should have some tubing or some pipe about the right size, maybe even a lock collar for a eccentric bearing lock. Should be a few of those around, just got to find them. Anyway, I might call that good for the video today. It's headed toward 2:30 now, and I'm not going to try to slide that thing in there by myself, because as it goes in, you got to start putting stuff on when it gets to where it's at. And when it gets all the way there, and then figure out how to put all the keys in at the same time and slide everything on at the same time. I can see where that'd be a lot easier job without the floor in it. It'd be a heck of a lot easier job if they just had a bolt-on section that went on the back to support that. Take some bolts out, take the whole thing off as a unit, but that ain't the way it's made. Be easier if that center carrier was out of there too. But they got that into a boxed piece, and the bolts do not go all the way through the box. They're only through the one side. And I'm not going to spend 2 hours underneath there trying to cut bolts out to take the plate off that's going to be completely ruined by the time it's off to get up into it. And it kind of needs that plate on the bottom to stiffen it for what it's doing. I don't know. You wonder why they made some things the way they did, but I've made some stuff that I've wondered about later too. So, and I guarantee this is more than a long enough video altogether. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and enjoy our Oregon liquid sunshine.